In this tutorial, you're going to learn how to use text in a few different ways and to create effects with text later on. So we're going to start off by making a new document. We're going to use print, but we're going to set it up at 10 inches by 10 inches. We're going to use RGB, which is lots of colors, and high resolution at 300 dpi. So here's my document. I'm going to set up my workspace using the Essentials layout, and I've got this rectangular shape. I'm going to start off by creating some basic text. Now the first thing I'm going to do to get my text going is I'm going to select the text tool, which is actually officially referred to as the type tool. So when I click on here, I get the type tool, and if I click and drag, I'm going to create a text box. Now to fill this in, rather than write an essay at this point, I'm just going to go grab some text from the Adobe Illustrator entry in Wikipedia. So if I right click and choose copy, then I'm going to come back here and I have to paste it in there. If I right click here, there's no paste option, so I have to use edit, paste, and that fills it in. I want to make this fill that area, so I'm going to make this size be 16 points. And I'm going to choose a font that I like. Two ways I can choose font. One from the character item in the options bar. I can also choose type and font, and there's a whole list. I can see the visual of what they look like here. So let's try something that's going to fit. And the nice thing is you can keep working with this until it fits the way I want it to fit. Now with a paragraph, I'm not going to use complex looking text like this. I'm going to use something real simple. Okay, this is good for titles, but not so good for reading. This one's much better for reading. So I'm going to use the black arrow or selection tool to shrink down the size of the box. Okay, next we're going to create type on a path. To do this, I'm going to use a shape. We've had some experience already using the ellipse tool. So I'm going to make the ellipse about 5 inches wide, 6 inches wide, a little bit taller. And I want this to be a black stroke and no fill. So in the tool panel, I'm going to switch these colors here by clicking on this default fill and stroke button and making it, as you can see, black with no fill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this into an arc. So if I take this direct selection tool and choose this point here and choose remove selected anchor point. No, excuse me, I want to use cut path. They could be done both at once. And there's this one. So I'd remove the bottom part. So with the object, I'm now going to select it with the selection tool or black arrow. And it's chosen. So that now if I click on that with the text tool and type in the words type on path, it follows or conforms to the path. No matter what I do, if I crank up the size on it, if I change the font to something more interesting, and again I like to use the menu so I can choose one that really works for me. Eventually it just follows the path. Now if I change the path, if I alter the shape of the path, it's going to also alter the path that the text is on. So using the direct selection tool, I can click on this and move this around, and no matter what I do, it's always going to follow that. So no matter what I do, I can edit my path and the type will always follow it. I can even get bendy with it and cornered with it, and it'll still follow the path. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create some custom text with a custom fill in it. Now what we'll do to start this off, we're going to type out the word blueprint with all capital letters. Now for this effect, we're going to want to use a very thick, bold font. That one's pretty good actually. One of my other favorites is called Fat Stack, and I think this is a free font. Well, maybe it's not in there. Oh, you know what else works good? Gouty Stout. Gouty Stout is on a lot of computers, and it's already kind of bold. If I want to make it bolder, I can add stroke to the outside and thicken it up a little bit. Now that looks a little bit weird, so what I'll do is space the letters apart by using my tracking. So if I increase the size of that number there, it makes more spaces between my letters, which is nice. So there's my text, and I just want to work with this one right now, so I'm going to separate it. Now right now the computer recognizes this as text. It'll select individual words and text. I can rewrite it, I can change the text real easily, but I need to make this into a shape. So in order to do this, and the reason I want to make it a shape is I want to fill in the inside of the letters with an effect. So first I'm going to choose type, and I'm going to choose create outlines. This will translate the shape, the letters, into an actual shape instead of into letters. So now I can change the size, I can stretch out the angles on them, I can choose object, ungroup, and edit individual shapes. Now I can actually choose these shapes and edit individual points, and again the computer no longer recognizes this as, if you double click, by the way, you're going to wind up inside the shape in isolation mode. So I can actually move things around this way. The black arrow tool is going to let me rotate, move, scale. Okay, and I'm just doing this to be fancy and give it some effects. I can change the shapes of the letters a little bit. So again, not editable as text anymore. It's only a bunch of shapes. So what I want to do is I want to take these shapes and I'll fill them in with something else. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Effect, Stylize, Scribble. And before I do that, I'm going to change this to a blueprint color. Blueprints are what they use. They're printed in a photochemical process that gives blue ink on it. And what I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to make a copy of this. So looking in my layers panel, really would have been smart if I would have had forethought about this so that I could then, let's copy those. And my goal is to create 2 layers of these. One for the stroke and one for the fill. So I drag those into my new layer. They'll go, they will. There we go. So now I've got a separate layer for those, a separate layer for these. And let's take the ones on top and remove the fill. So click on the fill color and choose none. Now it looks like it's still there because the other one has still got its fill. So let's choose this one. Let's collapse my layers panel so I can see what I'm doing. Choose this and make sure you've only chosen that one. And now we're going to choose Effect, Stylize, Scribble. And what this will do, if I click Previews, it's going to show sort of a scribbly look. And I can mess around with the settings here until I like what I see. Now I'm not too happy about that scribbly outline, so I'm going to get rid of the outline. Okay. So let's go back to that Effect, Stylize, Scribble. Oops. Now if I want to go back and edit it again, in the Appearance menu, I click on Scribble. And that's how you edit one that you've already put in place, rather than do it all over again. So again, the Appearance menu. Okay, and we're going to try to keep this legible and readable, but still have some style and some mojo to it. More spacing makes it harder to see the strokes. Less spacing runs them together. So we want to have some variation in there. And that's how that works. So now I've got Blueprint. Sort of fun looking. And that's how it works. Good luck. Have fun.